right, hello everyone. Like Dr. Quick said, my name is Ashley Carter, or as some of you may know me, Ashley Oswald, and I'm speaking on behalf of the College of Education today. Thank you for having me. I really would have never thought that I would be up here staring at all of you, when usually I'm out there staring up here. So to start with, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself, just so you have a quick idea about who the stranger is up here. I am a senior here at NU, of course, and I'm graduating with my bachelor's degree in elementary education. I've also been a part of the softball team all 4 years, and my incredible team this year is at the bottom middle of the picture. And I am married to my amazing husband, Steven, who is in the top right picture. I grew up in Chelan, Washington, a small town on the eastern side of the state, with my parents and younger sister, Molly, who some of you may know. And if you don't know her, she is in the far left picture on the screen as well. I was always outdoors growing up, whether that was hiking, camping, swimming, playing sports, you name it. I loved it in Chelan. It was my home. However, even with all of the amazing aspects of a small town that I grew up knowing and loving, the older I got, the more I realized how different the world was compared to where I grew up, even if it was just on the other side of the state at Northwest. When I got to Northwest, I quickly learned that not everyone went to school with the same people, all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade. Not everyone grew up the same way that I did, and not everyone believed the same things as me. I really experienced culture shock. Now, I knew these things to be true in high school, of course, but they never stared me straight in the face like they did my freshman year of college. I felt as if I was trying to figure out who I was all over again. What do I believe? Who do I want to be? And how do I make my faith my own? Not my parents' faith, not my friends' faith, not my church's faith, but mine. That is the question I will be diving into today, and how it relates to me as a Christian, a student athlete, and as a future educator. How many of you have siblings? Raise your hand. Okay, wow, a lot of us, right? Awesome. Yeah, I've got my sister right in front of me listening, so I better not say anything too embarrassing. But those of you who grew up with siblings, did you ever have those arguments or battles where one of you was trying to prove something to the other, or trying to see who was right and who was wrong? You might even go and investigate just to prove you're correct. Oh wait, I think I'm still thinking about adults too, right? But usually when you see a child, you see them as a little human who fully trusts their parent. Whatever a sibling might say is true, it holds no weight to what mom or dad says is right. In my family growing up, we had this saying, and it was, "Mama says." We would go to our dad and ask him something, and he would always say, "What'd Mama say?" Or I'd say to my sister if she was arguing with me, "But Mama said." However, in the same way, when faced with questions, uncertainty, decisions, or conflict in life, why don't we ask, what does God say? Matthew 18:2-5 says this: "He called a little child to him and placed the child among them, and he said, 'Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me.'" Now, this verse has always struck me. How can the Bible say, "Become like little children," when society and the world is always telling us to grow up? Having faith like a child means we should have confidence in the promises of Christ and faith even in situations where we cannot see. Children are often open to learning and trying something new for themselves. For example, if you tell a young child there's a puppy outside the house, they will most likely believe you, but they will also investigate the fact for themselves. If what you are saying adds up and there is a dog outside when they go to look, that fact will strengthen their trust. Now, there will be times children fully trust without truly knowing, like the time when my sister and I were little. and we were catching butterflies, bees, and bumblebees, and I asked her to do me a favor. I asked her to hold the bee we had just caught in a net so it wouldn't get away. Now, that's pretty smart, right? It wouldn't get away. Well, as the older sister, I might not have really asked her to do it. I probably more so told her to do it. But of course, as soon as she had the bee in her hand, she jumped back and yelled because she had gotten stung. Well, let me tell you, she was not very happy with me. She got hurt because she blindly went along with what I said, and she felt as if I had betrayed her trust. Most adults do not embrace putting their reliance or trust in other people as children do. In some ways, this is good because it protects us against being hurt and shows us we are more aware than children are. However, when the Bible talks about being like a child, it does not mean that we should not be educated and have reasons for our beliefs. Having faith like a child requires putting aside our will. This way, our opinions and misconceptions do not get in the way of trusting Christ wholeheartedly. This isn't like my sister blindly trusting me with the bee. We are human and we make mistakes. We do not know everything. However, we know that our Father is the creator and maker who knows us at our innermost beings. We have to admit that we do not always know what is best and humble ourselves, which can be a challenge. Throughout my years here, God really has had to humble me and remind me that I do not know everything. I'm a very type A person, which also means I like to control things. However, we all know there are many things in life that happen that we will have no control over. A great reminder of letting go of my own idea of control has been through softball. I am on our softball team here, and it has been one of the most challenging and rewarding aspects of my life. It is a part of who I am. I am a Christian student athlete, and I am proud of it. When I stepped onto the team 4 years ago, I really was faced with the question of, how am I living a life for Christ on and off the field? And how do I make my faith my own as a softball player and a teammate? I wasn't 100% sure what the answer to that question looked like until my junior year, actually, when I was put into a co-spiritual leader position for our team by helping lead our team life groups. I soon found out that with co-leading our life groups, that also meant I had to be vulnerable and step into the shoes of my teammates and their journeys with Christ. Not only am I in the continual process of figuring out my faith as my own, but God gave me an opportunity to do so in community with my teammates and best friends, which I can say that I've never had before. I didn't grow up with a tight-knit group of friends, so living life with my teammates and learning about Jesus at the same time was a true gift from God. So on the screen are just a compilation of a few pictures from the last 4 years. So in the top right corner, I believe, was my sophomore year, and we participated in the color run, and we have color all over our faces and stuff, but we didn't actually run. We just threw the color at all the runners, and then we just got to throw it at each other afterwards. And then in the bottom left corner was last year we celebrated our 2 seniors for senior day, Sammy and Sam, and so it was just really cool to come together and be able to celebrate them and just as a team remember what they've done over the 4 years and what they've just taught us over those years as well. In the middle picture is my freshman year, and we got to dress up as superheroes for our practice, and it was just a really fun reminder to know, like, this is why we do this, and softball is fun, and we can make it however much we want, and personalities really came out that day. Definitely. I'm in the middle, I think, with a Thor's hammer, so it was a great time. And then in the top left corner is me and my best friends this summer. They actually came and visited my hometown, which was super fun to just spend that quality time with them and show them around my little town as well. And then in the bottom left corner were all of my softball best friend, bridesmaids, all the slashes in there. And they were there on my big day this summer. So it was really cool to just have it come full circle and know that they are there for me on and off the field. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple of those and just them as well, because they're pretty awesome. I have learned so much about Jesus through their actions and lives that it's really been what's convicted me in my own relationship with him. They have pushed me to be kinder, called me out when I'm wrong, helped me deepen my faith, asked questions, and helped me acknowledge and overcome a lot of insecurities. I never realized how many of our insecurities lie in the unbelief that what the Bible tells us is true is actually true for us and not just for others. I mean, how many times do we have to remind ourselves that we are loved no matter how many times we fall short? We know it to be true, and as a Christian, we hear it all the time, but it's difficult to always fully believe it. As a softball player, I am faced with failure every single day. Did you know that softball is actually a game of failure and not a game of success? For example, if you go up to bat 3 times and you get on base once, that's considered a good hitting percentage. That's 1 out of 3. We more often than not fail, yet that's not what defines us. I have to remind myself daily that my worth is not found in softball, my successes, or in my failures. It takes this thing called perseverance. Now, on our good old friend Google, it says the definition of perseverance is persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. This is one thing that softball has taught me in regards to living out my faith as my own. I am human and I am going to fail daily. However, God calls us to be warriors and live out the faith despite the difficulty that we will face. Not if, but when. The perseverance it takes on the field is just a glimpse of what life will require of us. Another lesson I've learned as a Christian athlete is that your actions will always speak louder than your words. As I mentioned before, softball is a game of failure, and let me tell you, you get mad when you strike out while hitting, or you miss a ball that pops up into the air. We practice every day in order to get better and not make those mistakes. But mistakes are bound to happen, and I had to ask myself, how am I going to react when those mistakes do happen? Will I throw a fit, start cussing, or shut down and take it out on my teammates? No, that is not the way I should be responding as a Christian athlete. Not only am I representing Northwest Softball, but I'm also representing Jesus, who I say I want to be more like. I knew as early as a freshman that I wanted to be different on the field. I wanted to represent Christ in an uplifting way. I couldn't just preach that I was a Christian. I had to live it out in front of my teammates, my friends, my family, and even my opponents. One goal I try and live out is after a game, we always shake hands with the other team. So whether we win or lose, my goal is to smile at every person on the opposing team as I tell them, good game. Now this is extra difficult when we lose a game, and I'm mad we lost, and much easier to do when we win. However, my reactions and responses should not change based on how well we did. I represent Christ when I'm out there on the field, and I want my actions to reflect his love, grace, and forgiveness. Going an extra step further than just softball, as a Christian, our whole lives are scrutinized by the world. We are watched closely because the world wants to point at us and yell, who is this God of love that they talk about and yet they still act like that? Or, see, I told you they're hypocrites. They say one thing and they're doing the other. That's the same idea on the softball field as it is in life. There are so many people that see our lives and decisions and think, well, their life or reactions are no different than mine, so why do I need Jesus? It says in Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. God calls us to be in this world, but not of this world. That's what it also means in being a Christian athlete to me as well. I am on the field with everyone else, but I am not acting like everyone else. That's the goal. God has continued to change my life through softball and teach me so many things. On the field, through being in community with my teammates and best friends, and ultimately playing the game for His glory and no one else's, including my own. Now, I've had to learn and continue to learn what shining for Jesus looks like on the field, but as a senior now, I am directly faced with the question of how do I do the same thing as I step out into my future career as an educator, and what does that look like? However, I haven't always been faced with this question because I haven't always wanted to be a teacher. Of course, as a child, one day I wanted to be a zookeeper, and the next I wanted to be a police officer. It changed daily. But the moment I knew I wanted to become a teacher was actually in the 5th grade. Now I want all of you to think for a moment about your favorite teacher of all time. Okay, it could be an elementary teacher, middle school teacher, high school, or even a professor here. Just pick the first one that pops into your head. I'll give you about 5 seconds to think about it. All right, you have them in mind? Good, because I'm going to tell you a story about the moment my 5th grade teacher completely changed my life. Her name was Mrs. Bowers, and she was awesome. She let us have movie days, reading days in our pajamas. We created fun hands-on projects. But most of all, she had high expectations for all of us and truly believed we could surpass them. She taught us about growth mindsets and that in order for us to be successful and grow, we had to make mistakes and learn from them. The difference with Mrs. Bowers was that she believed in us. And the day I will never forget, the day that I made a decision I wanted to be a teacher, was when I found a book on a shelf in her classroom. Now, this was no ordinary book, nor did I find it on the eye-level shelf or displayed as an award-winning story. It was a very small, very thin paperback book hidden behind the others, titled Left Behind. To put this into context, most of you may know, but in public schools as a teacher, we are not allowed to initiate a conversation about God with students. But we are allowed to explore the idea with them if they approach us. This is a topic that teachers are supposed to be careful about in their classrooms. But when I first picked up the book, I wasn't sure what it was about. As I read the summary, I started to realize that it was about when God comes back for His people, or as some call it, the end times or the rapture. There's the adult version of these books too, but this was the kids series. I remember going up to Mrs. Bowers when I found it and asking her if I could read it and what was it about. I will forever remember what she said next because it made me feel so special and important. She said, "Ashley, this is a really tough book to read, but I know you will like it and you can do it. I'm good friends with your mom and know your family are Christians, so you may read it. There's a reason you found it hidden on the shelf, but I need you to help keep it a secret." I felt as if I was a spy on a secret mission. In my mind, I was reading a mysterious book. I read through that book so fast because I was curious and fascinated by it. Why do I tell you the story of a secret Christian book? Because this is the reason why I want to become a teacher. Mrs. Bowers was not afraid of what people would do if she had a Christian book in her classroom, because she believed it was a way for students to read about God. She was able to make books available in her classroom that would speak to her students. When I found this story on the shelf, I realized that God was at work in schools, even through random books found on a bookshelf. She treated each of us as the children of God we were and gave me an opportunity to read more about Him, even in the public school setting. I realized that I also wanted to be a part of God's plan and share the gospel in our schools. Through her actions of letting me read that book and teaching us every day, she was demonstrating Christ's love to us. The book Left Behind was Mrs. Bowers' way of stepping out in her career as a Christian. That is exactly what I want to do for my future students one day. They are also created in the image of God, so how will I get to show them grace and redemption in the classroom every day? Will I get mad easily when they won't stop talking? Will I be quick to judge them, or will I be quick to stop and listen? Jesus demonstrated to us through the Bible that He cared for the little children, the lowly, and the forgotten. Every single one of my students is sought out by Jesus, and I should do the same. I want to show them the love of Christ because who knows what their home life is like or who their friends will be. I have no control over those many factors, but I do have control over my own actions. As a future Christian educator, I know that I will face many objections or controversy regarding my faith. However, I need to think about why I do it. I want to teach because it brings glory to God, not myself. I teach because those little faces staring back at me every day are also His children. So how does being a Christian make me a better teacher? That's a question that I need to think about, especially in the face of adversity. I believe that being a Christian makes me a better teacher because I don't have to rely on my own strength to get me through a day, a week, or a year. Teaching is hard. You not only have to take care of yourself, but you have 20 plus other little humans running around, and you also need to teach them. It takes a lot of time and strength to teach, but knowing that I'm showing them the character of God by loving them every day, despite their mistakes, is the reward itself. That is the reason why being a Christian makes me a better teacher. There is a higher purpose than just needing to teach them material. Of course, teachers can't directly tell every child that God loves them in a public school, but we can show it in other ways, such as loving them despite not doing their homework, disobeying a school rule, when they hit another kid, or even when they seem like they just don't like you. Loving them despite all of that also shows them that they matter and you care about them. That is the essence of our Father, to know that we are loved and sought after. In that way, Christ has really continued to change my life as a student athlete and future educator. He has taught me through my years at NU that making my faith my own is not blindly following others at their word, but really diving into God's word and seeing how His words are true in my own life. So just as I grew up saying, Mama says, I need to instead ask, what does God say? He has taught me how to foster and go back to a childlike faith, but not a childish faith. To full-heartedly know and follow Jesus and truly believe His plans are greater than mine takes a lot of trust and faith that I'm learning about daily and growing further in. As a student, I have really had to rest in my own relationship with God and face it head on. As an athlete, I needed to figure out how to put my faith into action and not just words. As a friend, I've been challenged in my faith, cared for deeply, and encouraged. And finally, as a future educator, I get to be reminded daily of having a childlike faith and become more like it said in Matthew 18. Being able to have a classroom and open my arms to every child that walks through my doors is also welcoming Christ into the space as well. I want to practice a childlike faith and have confidence in the promises of Christ and have faith even in situations where I cannot see. These are a few of the lessons I've learned through my time at NU, through the gift of friendship, and through all my different endeavors. I pray that I will be able to remember and carry them with me as I step out of college. And if there's one thing that you can take away from this time, it's that I challenge you to ask yourself, just as I asked myself 4 years ago, who is Jesus to you? How are you going to make your faith your own? And how are you going to live it out well? Thank you. And now I'm going to just close us out in prayer as we head out the door, and just reflecting on what God is telling you and speaking to you right now. So if you want to bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for this time that we can just come together and learn more about you, Lord. I pray as every person walks out those doors today, whether they're a senior graduating in a month or they're a freshman and it's their first year here, Lord, trying to figure out who you are and who they are themselves, that you will just guide us and you will carry our steps in the way that you know that is best for us. We may not always understand what or why things happen, but having trust and faith in you, Lord, knowing that you are good and you know the ways of our hearts, Lord, that is comforting and peace in itself. I pray that you will go with us and strengthen us as we go on our journeys out the door today and for the rest of our lives, wherever that may take us. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Before you go, I just want to give you this award. This is to commemorate that Ashley was the senior speaker for the College of Education. So thank you so much for that message and for representing the softball team and the College of Education and just your time at Northwest. We appreciate you so much. Yeah.